Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the most, Avery LR32 here, and I want you to destroy the ever-living boo-boo stain off of that volcanic subscribe button as we climb ever closer to the 1,600 subscriber ladder. Y'all gonna have to excuse my voice because I just woke up not too long ago because my sleep schedule has been all over the place. But I wanted to talk about an interesting concept that actually seems to have popped up near the end of what is now the previous format, where people were starting to experiment around and see success at regionals, getting top 8, top 4s, things of that nature, with Volcanic Ryzeal. And this is really interesting. It was something that I messed around with for hours yesterday, trying to get the ratios down right. Something that really did hinder this particular build is the fact that Detonator went to 1, and most of the Volcanic Ryzeal builds were playing 3 copies of Detonator because they were playing 3 copies of Extravagance in the main deck. And what's interesting with this is that you have a card like Electro Blaster that actually allows you to chain block whenever you summon something like Ryzeal Sword, and it also provides extension. So what Blaster does is that if you normally special summon a fire monster or monsters except during the damage step, you could special summon this card from your hand. Then you can send 1 level 8 pyro monster from your deck to the graveyard, so you can dump the Emperor. And then it has a second effect where once per turn, if a spell card's activated, then you can make all fire monsters you control gain 300. That's really irrelevant. What's interesting is that you can go ice into sword. Sword effect to search, you chain the blaster. This is worded that if you normal or special summon. So from what I've been able to gather, it's the same way with like if you're trying to chain block aggregator when you go dump the summon X to dump aggregator, and you can go chain link 1 X, chain link 2 aggregator, because this is a if it's sent to the grave effect. So I believe you can chain block with the Electro Blaster. Feel free to correct me on that if I'm wrong. From what little information I've been able to gather online from this card, it seems to be able to be that you can chain block, but of course no one's playing fucking Electro Blaster, so of course there can't be a direct answer online to figure this out, right? And so I was messing around with Star Ryzeal, which is of course really good in the Ryzeal deck post-Alliance Insight, and also messing around with other things to try and make the engine a bit more consistent with something like, say, Fire Rejection, where you could play something like Volcanic Rimfire, or as I like to call it, Volcanic Rim Job, because that just sounds better. But you can dump the Rimfire, and then Rimfire banishes itself to, like, dump the Emperor. Emperor is also really interesting because it can be special summoned from the hand or grave by banishing 3 Pyro monsters or 1 Blaze Accelerator card from your face-up field and or grave, and then you can only summon it once per turn that way. But then when it's summoned, you deal 500 damage to the opponent for each banish pyro monster. So if you banish 3 pyros, the opponent's going to take 1,500, and then you get to set a volcanic trap directly from your deck. So you play either Emission or Inferno. Inferno can be a monster negate trap, or you can play the Emission to kind of extend your plays a little bit. But then Emperor will deal 500 damage to the opponent each time that they special summon. So the damage is actually kind of important in a build like this. They weren't even playing Prosperity because the damage mattered that much. And even after 7th Tachyon came out, Volcanic builds weren't playing Tachyon, which I think was interesting. They were just on the 3 Bonfire. So the reason why I wanted to make a video on this is because of the fact that this very well could be how Ryzeal is played, especially because people may not be preparing for this, or the quote-unquote pro players are preparing this as the new quote-unquote goo. They're just not telling their audience about it because they'd rather just lie to their face. And that's something I've kind of talked on the channel a little bit about before, but I'm not going to get into that. But the players that are in the know may already be aware of something like this, and I don't want the pro players to have some sort of secret sauce, so I'd rather just expose it for what it is, if this actually is the secret sauce. Is this the best build of Ryzeal, even with Bonfire at 1 and Detonator at 1? That I don't know. You could take this build if you want and kind of mess around with it. This is definitely not perfect. I mean, hell, the side deck is kind of all over the place. The extra deck's not even finished. And that's because actually what inspired me with this is because I was looking on a website called YugiOhMeta.com, and I saw that there was a Volcanic list that got top 8 at like a really small regional, and it was side decking Mahama the Fairy Dragon, and it wasn't even playing Tachyon. And this is from March 29th, so it was a little bit ago. But the concept itself was interesting. You know, what if there is a world where you can somehow make the normal summon of Volcanic Rocket get you a lot of advantage. Because the one issue I see with this right now is that you can summon Volcanic Rocket to get you, if you play the Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, it can get you the Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, but then you have to play the OG Blaze Accelerator, which is a brick. You can get to reload, but then if you don't have another Volcanic monster in your hand, it's just kind of dead. And then if you get drolled at that point, you have to have a Ryzeal to extend with. And if you don't have that, you're kind of just crapping all over the venue floor at that point. Now, something that is interesting with Blaze Accelerator Reload, outside of the fact that you can send a Volcanic card from hand to grave and then draw one, during the main phase, so either player's turn, you can banish it from your grave to dump a Volcanic card from deck to grave. So you could do something like, if you have Ice in hand, you could pitch the Blaze Accelerator Reload, if I could talk today. Special summon the Ice, and then if you've got Rocket on the field, that's a rank 4 play into Duo Drive, Dugaris, Flame Banshee, whatever, right? And then with the Accelerator Reload engrave, during the opponent's turn, you can banish it at any time to dump the Scatter Shot. Scatter Shots, both effects are going to activate. You're going to dump the other 2 Scatter Shots. You're going to do a total of 1,500 burn damage, and then you're going to nuke the opponent's monsters. That is a concept that's very interesting. Along with, of course, playing stuff like Electro Blaster. If you open up Rocket plus Blaster, that's a Duo Drive play, right? But I don't know if this is fully the way to go with it, because at the end of the day, this is what, an 11 card package. This is as low as I could get it. Fiendsmith is still smaller. The problem is that Bonfire is at 1, and I just don't think that Small World is going to be consistent enough and work out in such a way to where you're not hindering yourself more than helping yourself. But the idea of playing things like Flame Banshee and these Volcanic cards that, of course, no one's going to know what they do, especially since these are old school cards from the old school days. These aren't once per turns. If you can recycle your Scatter Shots multiple times, you get multiple burns, you get multiple nukes. The Rockets, if you can summon them multiple times, you can get multiple searches. It seems like a really interesting concept, especially post-Alliance Insight when we do get the new Star Ryzeal. We also get that Ryzeal Mass Driver trap card, which I don't think is the best thing in the world, but it is interesting nonetheless. There's maybe a world where you could play, like, say, 2 copies of Banshee or something, or just being able to banish the Banshee off of the Emperor to summon it, and then you can summon back the Banshee. Maybe there's like a Utopic Draco Future play somewhere in there. I don't know. But I at least wanted to make a video because I know that the uploads have been lacking because I've just been playtesting this format like crazy. But I wanted to put this concept out there, especially if this is something under the radar that people have been trying to mess with. I'd rather, kind of expose it for what it is and put it out there so that people, can't be pantsing other people. I think it's pretty delicious to be able to pull that off, especially when it's not in my favor. Obviously, if it's in my favor, I ain't gonna be talking about it. But guys, let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. This is the list. If you want to copy it, well, I may as well just go through it real quick. Again, this is not a tier 0 build. The extra deck's not even complete, but if you want something to start from scratch from, here you go. So we're playing 1 Emperor, 2 Rocket, 2 Electro Blaster, 2 Star Ryzeal, 2 Ice, 2 Sword, 2 X in the node, 3 Swallows, 3 Ash, 3 Scatter Shot, 3 Valor, 3 7th Tachyon, 1 Fire Rejection, 1 Talents, 1 Bonfire, 1 Callby with 3 Droplets. Droplets is amazing, this format, by the way. You need to be playing this and or Droll and Lockbirds. Definitely Droll and Lockbirds in most meta decks. 1 Cross, 3 Imperm with the Volcanic Emission and the Blaze Accelerator Reload. The side deck is whatever you want. Extra deck, you need to at least be playing 1 Aggregator, 1 Detonator, 2 Duo Drive, 1 Twins, 1 Tornado Dragon, and 1 Banshee. If you want to play Gravedigger's Trap Hole, then you can also play Rafflesia. The Banshee is a 1 to 2 of. But guys, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Again, take this, run with it. Let me know how we could improve it, maybe make it better. I've been messing around with it. Maybe I don't have a big enough brain to figure out the ratios, but I really think that there's something here, especially if you're going to play Rafflesia, and then by summon number 3, you make a Rafflesia, and you're insulated from Nib. So, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.